Why do I say that we live in the age, we live under the shadow of the 10-year trumpet clouds? What do I mean by that? It sounds very odd, very strange, very bizarre, almost, as we say, otherworldly. Where did I get that? Why did these 10-year trumpet clouds of which I speak begin in the year 2010 AD? Why was that precisely 2,727 years past the fall of ancient Israel? Why was Donald Trump one of 17 people who threw his hat in the ring for the nomination for the Republican Party for the 45th President of the United States? Why does the scale of music form around the numbers 2717? Why does that division line, which we call middle C, flow precisely through that mark of 2717? Why does Florida have 99 delegates? Why does Mr. Trump have a mansion, a residence there? Why, very near to his residence, flows the line, the 27th North Meridian? Why is Florida the 27th state of the Union? Why in 2008, when Barack Obama was elected president, did the state of Florida have 27 electoral votes? Why do the 99 delegates for the Republican Party form the 7th scale of music? Why is the Republican convention taking place in the 17th state of the United States, the 17th state of the Union? Why all of that under what I have called the trumpet clouds, which are two connected 5-year periods of Rosh Hashanah, which form patterns much like, how should we compare? Much like the 5 cards of a poker game. That is, where you have a powerful hand formed where you have 4 cards of a kind. Well, in the trumpet clouds, you have 5 years with 4 declarations of Rosh Hashanah on the same day of the week. You get one of these about every 25 years, but almost never, only once actually in 500 years do you get 2 connecting clouds of these 5-year patterns which are hinged in the middle. In this case, they began in 2010 and the span continues until 2019, 2020 in that year. Now the form is this. The 10-year clouds of Tishrei, or Rosh Hashanah, are formed by 4 days of the week. It's simply numbered, the current pattern of the 10 years, which is the 14th occurrence since the Garden of Eden. 6,000 years ago, we are under what I have called the cloud of the 14th 10-year span of that mathematical occurrence. And the pattern is 55255 and 22522, and these are connected together right at the time when the campaigns for the 45th president and the election of that 45th president, these are in the segue at the very center of these 2 patterns. Why do these form something almost like a double gate, a double gate that swings open? Why in the segue between the 45th and the 44th and 45th President of the United States do we have a time very similar to the time of Cyrus of old, a man who came to proclaim the building of a wall in troubled times? Why do we seemingly have a time that is almost parallel in which a modern day Cyrus wants to build a wall? I build things, he says. His name is Donald Trump. I will give to him the hidden treasures. I will make him wealthy, God declared. I will call him by name. This man, Donald J. Trump, single-handedly has amassed an empire. This one individual has amassed an empire worth $10 billion. One of the numbers of the tens and sevens, which form the pattern of the lampstand of the temple menorah, the pattern of time calculations, the patterns of the musical scale. Why does Mr. Trump live very near the 27th meridian? Why are there 99 delegates from Florida, which he obtained by the division of 17 in March? Marco Rubio, the senator from the 27th state, obtained 27% of the vote of the 99 delegates. Ted Cruz obtained 17%. We have the division of 27-17, therefore, of the musical spiral occurring in the 27th state, headed toward the Republican convention in the 17th state of Ohio. How is it possible to have all these coincidences occurring? Why did Mr. Trump read the lyrics of the Snake Song? Why did that go viral? Why was it much talked about on daily news for days or a period of weeks? Why is that number 17 directly connected to the dates of Rosh Hashanah, Tishri 1 of the 10-year trumpet clouds? Why is that? Is this accidental? Why, in connection to the Snake Song, does the snake, the serpent of Revelation, the 27th book of the New Testament, why is it said that he has 7 heads and 10 horns, a form of 17? Why was Jesus Christ resurrected on the 17th day of the lunar month? Why were the fountains of the deep broken up and the floodwaters from heaven came down on the 17th day of the lunar month? Why did they end on the 27th day of the lunar month in the year 2368 BC? Why did Jesus Christ in 30 AD ascend in the clouds back to the heavens on the 27th day of the second lunar month in the year 30 AD? Why are all these things happening? Why is modern day Iran, of whom the ancient Cyrus was king, Persia, why is that so connected to daily events in our world today? Why has it been a major issue? The great debacle of the giving of the 150 billion to Iran to get a absolutely disastrous deal on nuclear weaponry, an agreement which Iran will never keep. Why is that on front page headlines of today's news in the very time when we are in the segue between the 45th and 44th President of the United States? Why do all of these numbers, without exception, connect to the laws of lunar cycles, to the laws of time calculations, to the laws of symmetry, to the laws of the configuration of the temple candlestick of 10 and 7, to the laws of the strings of the playing of the octaves of the diatonic harp? Why is Jesus Christ a descendant of David? Why was David a harp player? Why on earth has no one else written of such things in such a dramatic way? Look at these 2 books. Between the covers is a story so incredible you have never before in your entire life heard anything like it. In the beginning, God. And from that statement has flowed everything that we know in this human life. The laws of music, the laws of prophetic events, the laws of every major war, prophecy, you name it. Everything in history hinges upon the laws explained, the symmetry explained, the beauty, the artistry of the things that God has been doing. He has his hand on the pulse of everything that is occurring in our world 24/7. You need copies of these books if you want to understand who we are, why we are experiencing the things that are happening to us in everyday life.